Okay, welcome to the workshop once again. And I delayed my sharing, um, so I'll complete that. But I think perhaps we should start before I do that with our meditation for healing the planet. And then I'll move on to what I was sharing and then further on to the workshop. So, everyone, if you'd like to relax, I'll read out Jesus's healing the planet and for its people that Jill brought through. So you'd like to get nice and comfortable and close your eyes. Just take a few deep breaths to begin with. We can invite all those loving high frequency beings to join us. They're probably quite well aware of what we're up to anyway. We imagine a beautiful golden white light descending upon us from the heavens. We feel soft, warm, and gentle as we breathe it in. It fills our whole body with its beautiful essence, and we are filled with the love of Source. We know we are connected and we are powerful, creative beings. We see that the light has now joined us together as a group. So there are no individuals, just one heavenly light. We are the group. We are one. We see planet Earth in front of us. She is beautiful, yet strong and resilient. We feel immense love for her. We are aware of a heartbeat, strong and deep within. We feel connected to the beat, and it seems to call to us. It is as though our own hearts have joined with hers, and we are in peaceful harmony with the planet. She is waiting for us. As one, we extend the light out from the group heart center and surround the dear planet in the beautiful, loving light. She draws close as the light pulsates strongly from the group consciousness, gently offering healing to her and all beings. We now see the planet and the group vibrating with the light which has been called forth through the group intention, capacity to love, gentleness, and knowing. The light becomes so bright now that it's difficult to discern the planet from the exquisite light. The light grows bigger and bigger until all that can be seen in the mind's eye is light. There is nothing else. We hold this light and feel its peace. We feel the love and the healing that we too are receiving. a feeling from which it's difficult to depart. It is a minuscule taste of love that has always been, a love that has never left, a love that waits patiently for our return. We feel immense gratitude now. The love we give is being returned in ways we cannot imagine, in amounts we can never understand. We cannot know who will accept what is offered today, but it can never be lost. It stands forevermore as a beacon for all those who seek solace, and it will shine as a beacon until all are home. We continue to watch a little while, knowing this cannot fail, for we are powerful creators. We are one with the source. We are the light. And so the healing is complete. Gently let yourself return to the room. Welcome back. Or just one little announcement. You may have noticed Bjorn hasn't been here. He wrote to say he needs his Sunday mornings at the moment for other things, so he's unsubscribed, but he hopes to subscribe back later at a later date. And I was going to mention something I wanted to share with you and others who might listen in. A few days ago, I was having a trouble with a friend, it's a bit ongoing, difficult to resolve. My ego was really doing its best and going round and round and round to try and solve it, as egos do. And I just felt guided to give it over to a higher source, to spirit. And so I took the problem and I chose Jesus. And I said, Jesus, this is your problem now, not mine. Now, I was well aware that at some point the ego will try and come in and start the whole story up again and offer its endless suggestions that don't work. But I had two approaches. As it started up again a few hours later, I said, no, I've given the problem away, actually. It's gone to Jesus. And that sort of quietened it down. And at another time, it started to creep back in again. And I used a second approach and I said, no, you've come to the wrong person. I've given the problem to Jesus. Go and give your advice to him, please. And each time it knocked it on the head. And I've had 2 days of peace where I have a tendency to come back in and I try and work out. Now, I haven't received a answer to the problem, but I'm at peace. And the problem can wait. And I know all minds are joined. I've seen sometimes in workshops where there's been a forgiveness exercise and someone's come up and said, I was working with someone I haven't spoken to for 10 years. And you know what? He rang me last night. And I said, yeah, I'm not surprised. Our minds are joined, you know. And you've softened and they've picked it up and it comes through. So I then shared this exercise with a friend yesterday who had a difficult day and had 3 issues, and it was going round and round and round in the mind continuously. And I said, well, this is what I tried. And she was very interested. So she took each one of the problems and handed it over. And I said, how do you feel? She said, I feel peaceful, and I'd lost my connection with my guides, and they've all returned. I thought, wonderful. And then I shared it with a friend last night and was excited. And as I was coming back to my house, the car stopped and beeped. And there was a woman I hadn't seen for a while, and she had problems. And I mentioned it. She said, thank you so much. I'd like to try that. And so it seems to be spreading like wildfire. So I thought I'd make up an exercise, which we'd do later. But Jill sent me a channeling from Jesus that she's been working with. And I saw this line in there. Do not spend time wringing your hands about how guilty you feel, and take endless days going over it and over it, as you tend to do. Yes, we know that you do that. Ask for help in letting it go. Hand it over to your helper, capital H, who is always there waiting to be asked. Thanks, Jill. Perfect timing. That was in the email I sent you. So I brought together, as I say, an exercise where we can take the shortcut. I mean, when you study the Course in Miracles, the time that comes up, acknowledge you're the one that's the problem. Stop pointing your finger out there, and then pass it over. And we're so unused to doing that. Not as young children, we go straight to our parents. And it says, please go back to being a child and give it over to us, will you? You may not understand how it all works, but I tell you one thing, whether they solve it or not, I'm definitely at peace, and it's not going around in my head, which is a great blessing. On to the workshop. We're getting near the end of it now. This was the quiet mind and empty heart. And one aspect I wanted to look at was an important section in the text called I Need Do Nothing. And the exercise will be connected with that as well. It had an interesting history, this one. It was Helen Schuckman, the scribe of the Course. She lived, on 18th floor in the apartment block. And she heard that possibly the lift operators were going on strike, which caused a great deal of fear. So she immediately moved out and booked herself into a hotel for a week. When she came back, there was no strike at all. She actually need do nothing. And it, of course, says, we make up these non-existent problems so that we come up with solutions. And so this section is about, dealing with issues where you're not always involved in it. Of course, the ego hears that phrase and says, great, I'll get on the sofa, open a beer, and watch TV all day. I need do nothing. Well, that's the ego's typical response, but it's got nothing to do with that. And a lot of vigilance and prayer and forgiveness is involved with it. It's in the text 18, where you'll find it, section 7. To do nothing is to rest and make a place within you where the activity of the body ceases to demand attention. Into this place, the Holy Spirit comes and there abides. He will remain when you forget, and the body's activities return to occupy your conscious mind. So it's not that we do nothing, it's that we do it with the Holy Spirit, or we do it with Jesus. And I know my own teacher, Kenneth Wapnick, was like that, and he had an extremely busy life from about 5 in the morning to 12 at night. He wasn't doing nothing, but he was saying it's not me that's doing it. So it's asking, not to do things with guilt, but to do things from spirit, not to do it on your own, but to do it with spirit. Let the love extend through you. It continues. When peace comes at last to those who wrestle with temptation and fight against the giving into sin, When the light comes at last into the mind given to contemplation, or when the goal is finally achieved by anyone, it always comes to us with just one happy realization: I need do nothing. Later on, it talks about saving hundreds and hundreds of years if you get this. Once we leave childhood, we think we've got to solve all the problems ourselves. The more experience we have, the older we get, the better chance we have. It says no. Unless you become as a little child, you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. So it's up to us how long we take to surrender and do things from a higher power. I remember a story about a Jesuit, Anthony de Mello, and he did eventually wake up. But he said, when I woke up, I felt embarrassed. It's like I'd spent my lifetime climbing this very high ladder to a window that was open at the top of a building because I wanted to get into that building, which was awakening. And he gets into the window after years and years of effort. And when he goes downstairs, he finds the front doors open. He thought it had to be hard. He thought it was tremendous effort. The text continues. It's impossible to accept the holy instant without reservation, unless just for an instant you are willing to see no past or future. You cannot prepare for it without placing it in the future. Release is given the instant you desire it. So this holy instant is an instant outside of time in which we choose forgiveness instead of guilt, the miracle instead of grievances, the Holy Spirit instead of the ego. And if you wholly desire it, it comes. If you're stuck in the past or the imagined future, there's no holy instant. Many have spent a lifetime in preparation, for awakening, and have indeed achieved their instance of success. Earlier on, it talked about fighting against sin, the flagellations, the old Christians beating themselves up when they had a sexual thought or were fantasizing about the nuns next door. Years and years and years, or meditation, years and years, contemplation, years and years and years and years. Remember that line? Love waits on welcome, not on time. Many have spent lifetime in preparation and have indeed achieved their instance of success. This course does not attempt to teach more than they learned in time, but it does aim at saving time. This is the thing what the course says. It's the fastest path you have in your hands at this time. Other paths will get you, might take your lives. This could get you there in one life. You may be attempting to follow a very long road to the goal you have accepted. It's extremely difficult to reach atonement by fighting against sin. That, of course, is the Christian approach. And the Course's approach, there is no sin. So accepting the atonement, it means waking up from the dream, going home. Enormous effort is expended in the attempt to make holy what is hated and despised. Nor is a lifetime of contemplation and long periods of meditation aimed at detachment from the body necessary. I was suddenly reminded of a favorite teacher of mine, Adyashanti. He was a sports athlete, and when he discovered Zen Buddhism, he used the same approach. He didn't take holidays. He went to Zen monasteries. Didn't have time for a girlfriend. He had to meditate all day, 2 hours before work, weekends, staring at blank walls for hours. After 10 years, he sat down and said, I'm a failure. And the moment he said that, his Kundalini awoke him, shot up, eventually shot out of his head. He had a major awakening. He gave up all the effort. He said, I had to be broken. That was my spiritual path, to be broken. 5 years later, he had a major awakening that launched him into being a teacher. But he said, I was like an athlete, always wanted to win, and I took that into my spiritual life. Stormed the gates of heaven type. And the gates were open all the time. All such attempts will ultimately succeed because of their purpose. That's it, you see. When I studied about 5 months for a workshop, Stages of Spiritual Awakening, Course in Miracles and all the top teachers said the number one requirement is to desire awakening above all else. So that's what Ajahn wanted. And he got it. But he took a very slow and hard path. So all attempts will succeed, yet the means are tedious and very time-consuming. All of them look to the future for release from a state of present unworthiness and inadequacy. So in other words, forgiveness is plug-in forgiveness again. It's the fastest path. Any questions up to this point? Save time for me by only this one preparation and practice doing nothing else. I need do nothing is a statement of allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. Believe it for just one instant, and you will accomplish more than is given to a century of contemplation or a struggle against temptation. Just think about that a moment. 1 second versus 100 years. To do anything involves the body. If you recognize you need nothing, you've withdrawn the body's value from your mind. Here is the quick and open door through which you slip past centuries of effort and escape from time. Now he's saying you save hundreds of years. Notice the implication for reincarnation there. So you save many lives. How many lives have I spent in monasteries, being nuns, fighting against sin? Come back, do it again. Didn't pray long enough, did I? Come back, do it again. Oh, I want to be the Archbishop. That'll do it. Centuries and centuries. And God's open to us returning any time. Love waits on welcome, not on time. Here is the quick and open door through which you slip past centuries of effort and escape from time. This is the way in which sin loses all attraction right now, emphasized. For here is time denied and past and future gone. Who needs do nothing has no need for time. So what's this hard path? We accept Jesus' Spirit into our life to guide us. We pass our problems over to him and we listen and be guided. We assume we're children that know nothing. He will teach us moment to moment what to go, what to say, what to do. It doesn't sound hard, does it, when it's put that way? But that versus the ego as, well, I know what to do. I've been to workshops. I read lots of books. I got all these practices. Oh, that reminds me of a story. It was an elder at Findhorn, and she had chronic backache. And we did some workshops together. She was definitely orientated to spirit, but she was tired of her back. And deep in the session, she jumped lives. She was a nun. And she was kneeling down on cold, wet floors, praying all day to God. And it caused a lot of pain in her back. And as we went into that, the pain in her back started to disappear. And then at one point, she said, no, don't tell me, Michael, all those lives as a nun praying were wasted. No. And all the pain came back into her back. And she left the room with her back pain. Right, but not happy. I'll never forget that. Don't tell me I wasted 500 years, 5 lives, thousands of hours in agony. Surely God should let me into heaven with all that effort. Surely. don't tell me I did wrong. Goodbye. You know, I have great reverence for the ego when I see what it gets up to, you know. It's just astonishing. And she knew, you know, she knew about spirit. No, I'd rather be right than happy. Elsewhere, he said, you know, save centuries of effort. And that's what she'd done. I have a feeling I was in a few monasteries as well. Anyone felt they'd been in a few nunneries, monasteries?
No. But I must say, looking back at my life, because you are so immersed in the matrix, so it took me years and years and years to just see that I was in the matrix and programmed and so and of course the course helped, but I couldn't really understand it until now. When I look back, I can see the progress, slowly lessening the this heavy matrix coming lying on us here in this world. So yes, of course, and I read that part in Course in Miracles many times, and I guess it's just the willingness to and being aware that it is something you can go to another part of you in this lifetime. Maybe that was what I was attracted to in the beginning. But looking back, I can see I can see it's just riding on the flow, and it's yeah, it would have been easy to if I had known that from the beginning. If I had the knowledge I have now in the beginning, it would have been very easy. So
yeah,
yeah,
the Matrix. I remember listening to
yeah,
those people who go in and rescue people from cults, you know, and they say sometimes it takes 2 years to get them to make their own decisions again. Because one of the attractions to cults is you give all your decision making over to the leader. And at the bottom of that is a very good impulse, because we've just been talking about giving all your decisions over to Spirit or Jesus. They just so happen to be human. And then they hate to start thinking for themselves, which means they leave the matrix of the cult. And then you were saying about the matrix of life, you know, like, oh, do I have to think? I just follow my leader. You know, they're giving me all this advice about the vaccine and staying at home. Surely they must be right. I don't want to think about it. I'll just follow them. Yeah, with goodness, escaping the matrix.
I think the important thing, and I think it was true of the lady in the story, and also something you said, Lena, reminded me of this, that, you know, we can look back on whether it's just our present life or past lives, if we happen to know, and we can wish things that we hadn't, spent all that time in a nunnery or whatever, or hadn't come across the Course in Miracles. I mean, I could say, well, it was given to me probably, 10 years before I actually read the damn thing. If only I'd done that, I would be further on. But, I think it's really important, especially at this time, is because I'm always getting messages that says, you all make far too much of what's going on in your life. And I think that's about handing it over. We just make far too much of it. You know, I wish I hadn't done this. I wish I hadn't done this. It's just like, just leave it. And so we should just be looking at what we're doing now and be the best you can be now. Don't worry about what happened before. Just let it go. Hand it over. And there's this a poem which I don't remember the words, and I might try and find it for maybe next time because it is actually really nice. But the gist of it is, and I'm not going to rhyme here because I don't remember the words, but it's that as children bring their toys to their parents to be fixed, so you bring your troubles and problems to God. And then you hang around and you say, you know, to your parents or to God, oh, you know, what's taking so long? You didn't fix it. Or what are you doing? When's this going to be ready? You know, nag. And then you snatch it back in a rage sort of thing and say, well, I'm going to do this myself then. And then the final line is so beautiful, and it says, but my child, you never let it go.
Oh, beautiful, Jill.
Yeah.
I love if you can find that. Like, so
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And I always think of that, like, yeah, we're always going, okay, I'll hand it over to you. And then the next day we go back and go, well, I've still got the problem, you know, what are we going to do about this? Oh, for God's sake, okay, well, I'll go and look it up in a book.
I
You
love that
didn't go, I'm giving it over and I'm not even going to think about it anymore.
because I know challenge a friend sometimes that, but I've been giving it away for years. It just doesn't work, Michael. You know, I might say, you know, did you really give it away, or was it your own plan hovering in the background, or you'll only give it away if the answer is your plan. You know, I've got a problem with my husband. The answer might be leave him, but that's not in your repertoire of answers. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, we make such fuss about so many things. Thank you. Let's have a little bit more before the exercise. Maybe we see. Maybe we don't need that.
Michael, can I just say this? It's on my mind a little bit about the nun story, which was great.
Yep.
So there's two things that came to mind. There's one that she didn't want to let the back pain go. She felt like she deserved it, right? For some reason.
Not deserved it. No, it was a result of praying, and if she let it go, it meant all those lives were worthless. It was the bit like a stigmata, you know. This is the mark. This is the badge I've worn for all my prayers.
Yeah.
Now you're telling the prayers don't work.
Yeah, I got that, but I suppose I'm just offering another viewpoint. So could it have been akin to a bit of self-flagellation thing, right? So that's just a Christian indoctrination idea. She touched on that a little bit earlier. Maybe she got a bit of that going on. And the other thing is, obviously, knowing what we know now, the concept is different in that there's no time. Everything happens in parallel, well, all at once. So in fact, all those lives weren't wasted because they're happening now, right? So she hadn't got 500 lives to waste. She just got this moment, right? So if she could have changed the perception, and we know all this. I'm just, you know, I suppose I'm justifying it in my own mind as I'm talking to you. So
Yeah, I mean, one of the definitions of miracles is that it saves time. So if right at the beginning she actually saw that this prayer is not going to work, she'll save 5 lives, 500 years. And in that sense, it is, you know, it's within the illusion of time. She could have woken up, she could be awake already, but she's delayed within the illusion 500 years. Such hard work. She just didn't want to hear that all her hard work was for nothing. It's unbearable.
A bit like a doctor when he realizes that, oh, there's a cure for this all along, when people become more, aware of what's been going on. And they'll really grip hard onto the fact that they've been, well, I've got a PhD in this and a PhD in that. What do you mean it's all rubbish? Don't accept
right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given the wrong treatment for 10 years and one treatment of the right thing, they'll be fine. Yeah. Bit of a knock on your confidence. Okay.
I think there's going to be a lot of that going on in the next few years too.
Boy. Yes. Along with the wave of rage.
Mm.
There'll be something to watch here going on. Okay, so I think I'll hold there. That's probably enough for I need to do nothing. And what we can do now is try the exercise that I've made up. This is the royal path, the short way that we've just been talking about. We need do nothing because there's something that will do it for us. And let's trust this power as we did as a child. Okay, folks, so if you'd like to get into a nice, comfortable, relaxed state. This exercise is about giving away our problems to a higher power, to let this higher power solve it for us. We begin with some relaxation. Let's just take a few gentle but deep breaths. You can become aware of any sounds around you, just allowing them to be there to help move you into the present moment. I talked about a higher power. It doesn't matter what words you use, what symbols you use, you choose the one. Maybe you want to use the word guide or spirits, angels, Jesus, God. It's the intention that matters. But you've probably got a favorite word, so you can use that. It's also recognizing that there is a higher power beyond the mind, beyond the reason, beyond the logic that we use most of the time to solve our problems. And even though we don't know how it works if we really intend to give the problem over. So now invite that source, whatever word you've chosen, to be with you now. I can use the word guide. So invite guide to join you. And this guide is very loving, very wise, knows everything about you, but has absolutely no judgment of you. Just sees you in nightmares and wants to wake you from them. Is always wanting to help. Is always patiently waiting to be asked. Imagine it as a light shining down upon you as this help draws near, because it can only come close to you if you invite it. It cannot go against your free will, and only wants your highest good. For some, it may help if you find yourself sort of drawn to holding the guide's hand. Whatever works for you. Now bring to mind a problem that you've been wrestling with. One of those problems where it goes round and round your head and you wake up with it in the morning, go to sleep at night. And there's probably anger and irritation, perhaps sadness. And perhaps they shouldn't have said this. Oh, I should have done that. Still going on. and you haven't got a solution, and you're certainly not at peace. As a young child, you were full of problems. Hurt your knee, you were hungry, you were wet, you were tired, and you went to your parents, and they solved the problem for you. But that's available to you now. So return now to that trusting state you had as a child. And here's the problem. You've stopped thinking about it. You know what it is. Now reach that place where you intend to give it over for solution. You're really ready to let it go. If you're not, they can't take it. Perhaps here's an experiment. Well, I'll try it this time. I'll pass it over. If it helps, you can imagine your guide with her hands outstretched toward you, patiently waiting. You can imagine just taking this bundle, visualize if you want, perhaps a cloud out of your heart or head, and you, with a sigh of relief, put it in their hands, and they smile and say thank you. Now it's in their time, not your time, when this will be solved. See them smiling and walking away with your problem. They thank you for the present. It's their work. They know what to do. Maybe they bring someone to you to tell you something, maybe a book, a dream. Maybe you feel guided to say a kind word to the person who upsets you. Anything can happen. Leave it up to them. Be open. But you understand that that ego mind is still waiting to give its useless solutions to the problem. And it will try and creep back in. When you spot that, there's a couple of things you could do. When it comes in with its useless suggestions, say, I've given this problem to my guide. I no longer need your help. Or you can say, oh no, you come to the wrong person with your advice. You need to go to my guide and give the guide the problem's advice. He's dealing with it now. Check in to see how peaceful you feel in giving this problem away that you don't have to worry about anymore. If you're giving it away, you'll feel a peace in you. Thank the guide for taking your problem. And promise your guide that with other problems, you'll be bringing them back to her. Take what time you need to feel complete with the exercise, and then bring yourself back to the room. Welcome back, everybody. Anyone like to share anything from that exercise with the group? Most of you are muted at the moment. Kevin.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's just a quick one, really. Not going into too much depth. But the originally, I was telling Lena I was imagining God, but as an energy. And then I was struggling with the size of him in relation to me, like light and things. So it was quite difficult for me to visualize that. So then I was giving things to him and stuff, which was great. And I said, well, maybe I should give it to the Holy Spirit. You're supposed to give things to the Holy Spirit first, and then he gives things to God, right? So I tried to visualize him more. There seemed to be more form to the Holy Spirit. And then I got thinking, well, what about Jesus? Where does he come into it? Can I give things to Jesus? If it suits my higher self? And I thought, have I offended Jesus? Well, of course it's all right to give it to Jesus, right? So then here's the thing. So I'll give it Jesus, and then he'll give it the Holy Spirit, and then he'll give it God, right? So that was the format that I was using, right?
Okay.
And then at the end, I got these sort of problems and fears, and I was giving it Jesus, and he was making out like it was a big heavy load, and then he just like smiled and turned it into a pebble and flicked it to the Holy Spirit, and he flicked it to God. So that was
Fun.
kind of I like that. So
So you see, that's exactly what we were saying before, is that we make far too much of this, you know, it's like it's nothing, it's but a pebble that he chucks over his shoulder. It's like, yeah, okay, we'll get rid of that.
Nice, isn't
yeah.
it? Thank you.
Yeah.
This thing about names, when I was with Iris last night, and we were talking about this, and she wasn't sure which one to use, you know. And I said, I don't think it matters, it's the intention. But when the channeling started, it just said, please use any name, you know, just the one you're comfortable with, just choose one. It doesn't actually matter. There's that statement in the Course, words are, but symbols are symbols twice removed from reality. But the intention is what's listened to. Like Jill was saying, you know, about that story. You can have all these beautiful words about giving it away, but you have no intention of giving it away. And all they listen to is the intention, not all the beautiful words, you know. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah. Yeah. I took my problem with sugar addiction, and I realized that I didn't really want to let it go at first.
Ah,
I had something, I could feel it in my body. No, but the, it lessened. It lessened. Sorry, I have to take the phone.
yeah.
Sorry.
We might be losing Lena. She warned us that a friend needed some help. So anyone else?
Okay.
I have the same problem that Lina. I
Oh,
have
really?
sugar addiction, but I don't want to let go.
Well, I have some advice for Paula, and if I can get Lena back for just a second, she's on the phone. I'll hold.
Yeah.
Got
So
a few
no,
seconds,
it was
it's all right.
okay. No, it wasn't my neighbor. It was my son. So I call him later. I call him
So
later.
Paula was
Yeah.
saying that she
Okay.
has the same addiction. Now, many years ago,
Yeah.
I was introduced to a substance called xylitol. And xylitol was made after the Second World War when there was no sugar around. They made it from the
Yeah.
bark of trees, which is a bit expensive. But the one I use comes from China and it's made from corn. And it tastes exactly like sugar. It has no aftertaste, but it's not from the sugar family. It has 40% less calories. Its energy release is so slow, diabetics use it. And it improves the health of your teeth. There's something in the mouth which tends to attack enamel. and xylitol goes for that. And some tests have shown people with xylitol have 1/3 less fillings. Now it's 6 times the price of sugar, but I buy it in the 20 kilogram. So it lasts a long, long time. You can buy it in little sticks. So if you're wandering around, you know, and you go into a tea shop and you want to put sugar in your coffee or something, you can get, I don't know if you can see them, these as xylitol. It's spelt XYLITOL.
No, can you tap in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat for you. No problem. This is to everyone. Because I was brought up in sweet shops. My mother owned sweet shops. And so I got addicted to it. And I react quite strongly to acidic substances. And ordinary sugar is acidic, but xylitol isn't.
Okay.
I missed the L off. Sorry, Paola. It's got an L on the end. Xylitol. It's been a lifesaver. And you couldn't tell the difference. And it's the same quantity. Teaspoon of this is the same as a teaspoon of sugar. It looks white. Anyway, that might make your life a bit different.
Did you know that, and this is just doing what I'm doing at the moment, reading about this MMS, that, and Lena probably know something about this too, but when you crave sugar, it's usually because there's a pathogen inside your body that needs to be fed. So it can be yeast or molds or fungus or, you know, candida, which is a kind of mold, you know, and it creates these cravings in your body to go and eat something that's going to feed it. So that's really interesting, isn't it?
It is, but Jill, how do you explain that virtually everyone in the world is drawn to sweet stuff?
Well, it is addictive though too, isn't it? It's just like alcohol. Sugar is addictive. But then on saying that, nearly everybody in the world has got some kind of pathogen inside them that's, you know, but I mean, look, I don't know the answer to that.
Another
Really.
explanation is that fruit is good for you and it's made sweet to help you eat fruit.
Yeah.
Anyway, those who are now addicted and are having trouble with withdrawal symptoms, like me, Paola, and Lena, I recommend xylitol.
Matt
Not making any
can
money for this advert. Paola?
Matt can says that sugar feeds the ego.
Yeah.
The ego.
Yeah.
But as I haven't got rid of my ego yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to be very careful because I tend to go to cafes and I like to follow with something sweet. And there's virtually nothing on the menu. And if I do, sometime later, my ankles start to itch because my body doesn't like acidic food. It likes eating like 200 years ago, you know, little fruits and lots of organic vegetables and stuff. It's very, very happy with that. The moment I start stuffing cakes in or too much fruit, then the itching begins. So I've got this wonderful feedback, like, you've had enough, get off there.
Oh.
Other
Oh.
people might get tired with the sugar, you know, or have some bloating, I don't know. And if I do too much of it, the itching will wake me up at night. So I know to behave myself, you know. There's virtually no cake I can eat now without trouble. Is life worth living is what I've said to myself many times.
Okay.
Is there something beyond cake? What do you think, Jill? Is there anything beyond cake?
Well, I was so upset the other day. because I discovered my favorite chocolate, Lindt, has got cadmium in it.
Oh,
And I actually have cadmium in my body that I have to try and get rid of, heavy metals. And that's because I've probably had 2 pieces of Lindt chocolate every night for probably the last 10 years. Well,
okay.
not lately, giving that up.
You know, you can get rid of the heavy metals. I went through this a few years ago. You first have a test that shows you the heavy metals. Then you take the substance, and then you retest. My wife did it at the same time. 1 course of treatment vanished it for me, and she reduced hers by 2/3 and had to have a 2nd course of treatment. And then the test showed, I think it was about $100 we paid in the end for the test and the materials. But email me if you want details. I'll look them up somewhere. I just ordered it on the internet. I wanted a heavy metal detox. Anyone else want to share for that? Sorry?
That's interesting. I wonder if it dissolves your fillings, though. You know, the old grey ones.
The heavy metal?
Yeah.
Don't know.
You know, the heavy metal detox. I wonder if it trashes the fillings.
I know the Americans have now finally coming out warning against mercury fillings for anyone who's pregnant, you know, breastfeeding. They say they must not have them. They've got that far.
Yeah.
Mercury fillings, yeah. So back to the
All right.
sharing. Is there anyone left who wanted to share anything from that exercise? So we've got rid of a few burdens tonight, I hope.
You know, actually, that's funny because who said it? Oh, Lena said about she said about sugar, but she knew she didn't want to give it up. Well, I actually thought of someone, and I thought, yeah, a bit of a problem there, and I went to. I was actually going into my little light place, so I wasn't really that bothered about whether I did what you were saying or not. But just as I went into this light place, I knew what the answer would be about that person, and I didn't want to know. So I just carried on. I went, yeah, forget that. Forget that. I'll just go with you, Jesus, and we'll just do our thing. Just don't worry about that problem. I'll sort that out another day. I will sort that out another day.
And are you saying, Jill, that you were shown the solution?
Well, I just kind of knew what I don't know whether it was shown to me or yeah, it probably was, but the idea came into my head and I went, yeah, I knew that, I know that, but I don't want to, I'm not going to address that. I'm not doing that. So let's you and me go off into the light and have a lovely time.
So Lena doesn't want to give up her sugar addiction. You don't want to deal with the solution to the problem. What a group we got here tonight. The resistance group.
Yeah.
It's an honest group. I like that, you know. Yeah, you can find that poem, Jill. Send it to me.
I will find it. I know where it is, I think.
I might combine it into the posting on your art. When I post your article, I'll also post this exercise we just done. And underneath it, I could perhaps stick the poem as well. So they've got a big kit. And they've got no excuse for not doing it, though they probably won't. There you go. What can you do? Before we close, is there any other questions, Sharon?
There's just a quick one, really. Obviously, I'm very grateful for the meditations and the poems, etc. But of late, I seem to be fixated with flat Earth, right?
Flat Earth.
So yeah.
Flat
so
Earth.
so that yeah.
Okay.
So therefore, there's a lot of massive evidence to support it, right?
No.
So plus the fact,
What? Where'd you get that from?
There's no evidence to support it. We're not on your side,
Kevin.
We're not on your side here.
No, don't be brainwashed, guys. There's not a lot of evidence to support around there. Or a picture Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Make it up as you go along, why don't you? Right? So right.
We must forgive Kevin Group. All behind me.
Whatever.
Kevin.
obviously, you know, right, okay.
Oh,
there's
go on,
that. So
Kevin.
that-
Go on. We're just being really rude. Continue on with what you're
That's
saying
all-
about
that's all right,
this
that's all
idiot
right.
idea you've got.
Yeah,
That was naughty,
right.
Jill. You were very good for a sentence, and you brought that in. You got the floor again.
Yeah.
Be quiet. Carry on.
Well, there you go. You see, what you need to do, guys, is forgive and let me let me live my bit, my fantasy.
We're all
anyway,
ears. Kevin, go ahead.
So the point is, right, let's say for argument's sake that the earth is flat and we are under the firmament, right? And people talking about planets and things like that, right? Now, planet, you could argue, is an aspect of the word plane, right? So I justify it in my mind, thinking, oh, it's a plane, a planet, they mean that. People start going on about spheres and things like that and globes and things. I'm now having trouble with that, right? So each to their own, right? And
their own.
nobody knows everything.
Kevin, I wish you well with the
I'm-
flat Earth, and we'll
Thank-
probably stick here as sphere people. Okay.
okay, whatever.
The good thing is that
I just
everyone has their own opinions. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
main thing.
So-
Yeah.
yeah, so I just turn it in my mind. I turn it to what suits my mindset at the moment.
Okay. Anyone
All right.
interested in flat Earth? Get in touch with Kevin. That's the thing.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Any last sharings before we close for the night? Well, that was fun, guys. Thank you. I'll post all this and I'll take the exercise out so it's easy to do again. And I'll post that one as well. Anyway,
Right.
great being with you. And may all your problems soon be solved.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys,
Bye all.
Thank you.
see you soon. Bye-bye.